I watched that Cormier fight, that Cormier and Oezdemir. Oeds, I think it's Oezdemir. And I don't know if you know about this Daniel Cormier, but he's a Louisiana guy. And at first you think he's a chef. Oh, Daniel Cormier? He makes those expensive TV dinners? No. Daniel Cormier is a cage fighter, prize fighter. And he was out there, and he's a national champion. He has one of the title belts, and he's out there. And I don't know if you've seen his body. I mean, this guy, you can't tell from watching if he's 6'4" or 5'1". He has like a very unique body style, like the thigh bone's connected to the neck bone. You know, you're like, what? Like he almost looks he looks like a really strong caramel that somebody taught to fight. And he's out there and he kind of fights with both arms. Like he's just has this, it's almost like it's a bit of a dance in a way. And look, this man would beat my ass. This man would finish me off like a drumette. You know, this man would suck me down like a meat drumette. But he was out there, Daniel Cormier, and he'll like punch with both of his arms at the same time. So it's almost like this wave of aggression that was coming at Oezdemir. And Oezdemir is this guy, he could have been 11 feet tall, dude. I don't know what ratio I had my screen on. It might have been 16:9 or something, so I don't know. But Oezdemir looked like he looked like the youngest son of a polar bear. He looked like a lean polar bear, like somebody like a polar bear just worked out so hard all his fur fell off, and he just got real lean. And he had the long legs, white legs. Just like, damn, you know, like you don't even, and he got that name, Oezdemir. Let me see Oezdemir. Oezdemir. So, dude, and you're sitting there trying to figure out his name. You're trying to buy a vowel, and then, damn, he hits you. His arms, one of his arms looked like it was probably 4.5 feet long. And he just hit you with one of those polar pops. Just pat-ow. You know, he just hit you with that polar pop. And next thing you know, you ice cold. Next thing you know, you waking up in the frozen food section out there and out east of the city. And you're ringing the bell for help over at the bakery section because nobody's paying attention to anything in the grocery store and it's late night hours. And you just got polar popped by Mr. Oezdemir and you woke up out there in the frozen food section. But Cormier, you know, you could see how, that first round, and when you looked at him, the confidence that Cormier moves with is what got me. And look, I don't know a ton about fighting. I don't claim to know. I used to not even like to watch these fights. Watching them made me feel a little bit scared. Like, that's how much of a puss I am sometimes when it comes to, you know, being out in these streets. Is watching a real tough fight. I would put on knee pads or something even if I was just watching at the house. You know, I'd check my PPO if I was even just watching at the house. But you had Cormier out there, and they're, you know, like... And at first, the first like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, it was all punches. And I loved it. It was like watching two men that could do other stuff, choosing to punch, choosing to box. It looked like gladiator style stuff. You know, a couple of placement kicks and trying to keep each other this way and that way. You know, look like a little bit of Polish dancing here and there, but a lot of punches being thrown. And just man shit. Where you standing up there and still punching even though you getting punched. And then they went down to the ground, and I thought it was going to be over. Because Oezdemir, one of his legs just popped straight out like a white flag. I thought he was trying to surrender with his foot. And I thought he was trying to wave that foot out there. And then the bell saved the gentleman. And so they came back out for that second round. And it was almost like the first round. It was like somebody pressed fast forward on the first round. And before you know it, Cormier had him down on the ground. And just a series of punches where you're like, man. It was just I almost liken Cormier to, like, I don't know if you ever heard that story of John Henry, the steel driving man. But it was a long time ago. They have this old story. I'm going to look it up right now. It was a long time ago. It's a folk hero, and he worked as a steel driving man. His name was John Henry. And he was the best. If you put that man in the cave with the hammer, he was the best. And he would just beat up the rock, and he would get all through the rock and do whatever he had to do. And then one day they came along with a machine. And they said, well, this machine can do this job. We don't need you to work anymore, John Henry. And John Henry said, I can beat that machine. And I don't remember if he beats the machine or not. But I know he dies trying. And that's what it reminded me of Cormier, man. He just started putting this kind of punch. And it was a slow, organized, systematic punch. It was like when you are knocking, say your girlfriend's cheating on you, and you know she's in there with a man. And you already took a few deep breaths in the car because you're not really into her anymore. You're past her, but you're still going to go in there and deal with that man. So you take a few deep breaths, maybe do some light meditation, maybe get the Headspace app or something, and use that for a minute before you head up to the door, and you're going to knock on that door. And you knock on that door, just because that knock is going to resonate different with your old lady and that man back there plugging at each other's parts, and hiding cock inside of your wife or whatever. If he's doing, back there freaking cock hiding. Because a bang, 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 that's erratic. They're going to jump up. Somebody might try to get out a window. Blah. Somebody might try to hide under a pile of dirty clothes. Dude, I did that one time. Tried to hide under a pile of dirty clothes, dude. Oh. First of all, I think some of the clothes was like a baby's dirty blanket or something. You ever had a man beat your ass in a pile of dirty clothes? Then you haven't really, really lived, probably. And that actually happened over near Tallahassee in Florida. That was a long time ago. But I've had my ass beat in a pile of dirty clothes, man, and that will humble you. That will humble you right there, boy, when a big boy puts you on the fucking, introduces you to that 2-arm spin cycle. And suddenly, he's beating the dirt off of y'all. He's beating the dirt off of y'all, man. He's doing that laundry on you. But that's how this was. It was almost like going up to the door of your ex when you know she's in there, or your girl, she's in there with a man, and just that slow knock. Because you know that you are in control of this situation. You're going to get in there, you're going to whoop some ass. You're not going to do it erratically, though, because you don't need the relationship anymore. You're past it. But you're still going to get in there and beat some ass. And that's how Cormier just rocked him with this hand. It was just this slow, planned thing. He just knew his execution was so efficient. And it was uniquely efficient because he's an awkwardly built man. And I don't say that to judge him. I mean, dude, I'm fucking built. Dude, I built like a little bit like I beat down syndrome. If you catch me, in the realms beyond, when the Lord was forming me, I mean, I was like a Plinko chip, and I almost could have fallen into that DS hole at the bottom. But instead I got barely regular. But Cormier's just a unique guy, I mean, his thumb joint's connected to his calf. I mean, he's just this nasty caramel out there that's going to stick you to the mat. It's going to gum up your teeth and stick you to the mat. And I liked watching them after. I liked watching their press conferences after too. Because you could tell Cormier, he said, by 40 years old, I'll be done fighting. He's 38 years old now. And look, when I watch these men fight, I watch them do something that I could never do. I do not have the spinal column or the balls to do that. I could fight somebody for charity. You know what I'm saying? I could probably beat up a ginger. I could probably beat up a real lean ginger for charity. And I'm not talking about ginger, a woman's name. I'm talking about a redheaded fella. Or a strong woman. I fight a strong woman if we got the contracts and everything. And everybody's clean on, all the gender stuff. But man, Cormier, after he said, I'm 38 now, and by 40 I won't be doing this. So he said, when he prepared so much exactly, and to see his preparation go exactly as planned. And you believe that with him. You just believed it. You believed he knew his plan. He came in and he just did exactly what his plan was. And it was going to work or it wasn't going to work. But you saw a man who had been in his craft and been in his realm for a long time. You know? And that he knew he wasn't going to waste time. He needed this opportunity. He wanted to win. He wanted to defend his title. And he wanted to get the most out of his career while he still could. So he'd worked hard and planned ahead and made the most of his opportunity. That's what I gathered from listening to it. Now, I'm also no expert. I'm no expert at all. And if you want to be like, Theo, you're a fuck muppet, you don't know, you'd probably be right. But I'll say this about Daniel Cormier. That man is built like a damn shiffer robe with a bad attitude. That man is built like a shiffer robe and a fucking grizzly bear had a baby. And he will just, I mean, I thought he could smother somebody. I wouldn't be he could put 2 kids to sleep just by putting one under each arm. These children don't want to rest. Fuck giving them a hit of Dimetap or that Tussin. Just pop that fucking, put them on up under daddy's chest meat and they'd be out. I mean, dude, I bet he could press a sandwich, dude. He could make a panini right there up against his rib cage with his own wing. And he seemed like that kind of man. But also, it was cool to listen to this Oezdemir kid. And I say kid, he's probably 11 feet tall. And he looks at a ladder and he's like, yeah, whatever, guy. I'm not taking it easy today. This man he could do his own work. And he said he was so young. He said he'd been fighting for a year or so, and suddenly he was at the title. And he thought that he would be back at the title. And he also seemed, one thing that was really interesting to me that was cool about him that made him seem very human was that he said, well, I'm in Boston, and tomorrow I'm going to try to get out and go see the city. And I thought that was, I wish I could have that kind of attitude sometimes. When something rough has happened to me or something that didn't go, this guy just had a chance to win a belt, a gold belt. I mean, you don't get a chance to win a gold belt unless you are in, unless you fist fighting a bitch up there on Beverly Hills Boulevard at one of these fancy belt shops, or unless you're in the WWE or the UFC, or unless you're in ancient Egypt. Those are only, you don't get to fist fight nobody for a gold belt. And he said, and he lost. He didn't win. But he was like, well, I'm here in Boston. I'm going to go see the city tomorrow. I'm going to put on some sunglasses, and I'm going to go see some of the city. And I thought that was pretty cool, that he was going to take something away. Because, look, man, one thing that I'm slowly learning is that if I'm going to lose, I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn something. I'm taking something out of this swamp. I'm taking something out of this swamp. You might get me in here, and it might be nasty and dirty. I might almost drown. I might take an L, but I'm leaving out of here with a beautiful piece of birch. I'm going to learn something.